hunch.
I've got Imperial Eagle in this tray here.
Well, can you find me the card for this one, because I think I recognise that writing on there as being writing from the Rothschild collection.
And this is Imperial Eagle?
Yeah, Spanish Imperial Eagle. You've got a reference number.
What number have you got on the egg?
It's 1925, stock 12, stock 26, stock 56.
Yes, I've got it here.
What does it say?
It's from the British Museum Natural History Collection.
The eggs had been stored in a semi in Dartford. 26,871 were produced in court. There had been 26,872, but closer inspection revealed that one had been laid by a tortoise. The press had a field day. The court heard of an international egg ring with links in Africa and Australia. In the end, the defendant, Mr. John Hemmings, was found guilty and fined £10,000. He's considering an appeal.
Mr. Hemmings, what's your reaction to today's verdict?
I'm very disappointed, and obviously I've got to try and consider very seriously what the situation is. I'm relying on my lawyers to advise me what to do and how to go about it.
You deny categorically that you are a collector of eggs?
Absolutely. I regard myself as a curator of an old egg collection, really.
How are you going to pay a fine of some £10,000?
Simple as that.
Prosecuting people has a deterrent effect. If anyone out there has got egg collections in their lofts or under their beds, then obviously they're going to look at this case and think, I've seriously got to consider what I'm going to do with it.
What do you suggest people should do if they do inherit a fairly old egg collection? They obviously can't prove the provenance of all the eggs.
If they're in that position, then I think they have to seriously decide about destroying the collection.
The eggs in the Nichols collection of Mr. Hemmings went back to the 19th century. It's a historic egg collection.
1843, I think, was the first.
So that it's very difficult.
There
are people all over the country who have egg collections who now stand threatened by these sort of proceedings.
Climbing into the psyche of the would-be egg thief is one of the challenges for the bird detectives. Dee Doody is not an egger. He's a warden on a reserve in Wales, where the RSPB has set up an egg protection scheme, marking the eggs of the red kite with ultraviolet ink in an effort to trap the robbers. But you can't patrol every tree in the Welsh forest, and the egg collectors, too, have an efficient intelligence network. So the vigilantes have to be on their guard. Electronic surveillance is used to monitor the progress of mother and fledglings, as well as to check for intruders.
The RSPB over the last few years have found themselves having to spend quite a lot of time, effort and money in protecting the kite from unscrupulous individuals who seek to benefit from, quite frankly, persecuting the bird itself. They're not motivated by money. Quite often we see headlines splash in the newspapers that large sums of money change hands for kites' eggs. In my view, that is not true at all. I think the egg collectors collect the eggs themselves as some criminals collect old masters. Because they're rare items, people somehow feel the need to possess them.
A Scottish glen home for a pair of golden eagles. The setting for an unrelenting game of cat and mouse between the egg collectors, risking physical danger as well as prosecution, and the bird detectives guarding the precious nesting site.
To me, as a Scotsman, golden eagles symbolise the wild country of Scotland. I think it's fantastic that they're still here. It's just amazing to me every time I see one that you can have a bird as big and as wild as that. And anyone that interferes with them, of course, I find that quite appalling.
Eagles are magnificent birds. They're absolutely superb. There's only about 400 or just over 400 pairs nesting in the United Kingdom, and it's a bird we have an international responsibility to conserve.
It was that responsibility which brought Andy and his colleague Dave Dick to the High Corries, to a place called Eagle Rock.
We had that very interesting telephone call one day in March, suggesting that at least 2 egg collectors known to the RSPB were on their way up to a remote glen in Perthshire, intent on taking some eagle's eggs. Not only did we have the identities of the persons involved, but we also had the exact location that they were intending to go to. We saw the 3 men approaching the base of the crag, Dave and I hid in a gully. We were able to watch towards the crag from the gully and witness everything that went on.
They've obviously gone straight to that nest, Dave. They haven't bothered to work out where the birds are.
As the bird detectives waited and watched, the nest robbers' operation proceeded along familiar lines.
Two of the men went to the top of the crag, got out some climbing equipment, threw a rope over, and one abseiled down to the site of the old nest. They didn't care about the birds at all. They were intent only on taking the birds' eggs. Fortunately, they failed on this occasion. Through their own mistake, they went to the wrong nest.
The bird detectives had a dilemma: confront the nest robbers or stay hidden.
We were very worried, you see. We were in some very remote country witnessing what was going on. But of course, we couldn't really approach the men. We would have to follow them, and what we were intending to do is to follow them back to their vehicle, get the car number, and then telephone the police and ask the police to carry on from there. Fortunately, through the good offices of the farmer, the police were alerted and were actually on hand to apprehend the men as they came back down the glen.
The would-be thieves were arrested and charged with attempting to take the eggs of a golden eagle. They included Colin Watson, a Yorkshireman with a record of previous offences. They were fined a total of £6,000 and their equipment was confiscated. For the bird detectives, another successful mission.
There is obviously no scientific justification for what egg collectors do whatsoever, and they don't care about the birds. They just don't care about birds. They know a lot about birds' nests, but they know almost nothing about birds. It would be a good day for the birds when the last egg collector stops collecting eggs, basically. That's it.
When the last egg collector finally hangs up his climbing harness and rope, then I think we'll be quite happy.
Colin Watson will not be following that advice. He is an inveterate egger, a maverick Moriarty to the bird detective Sherlock Holmes. By trade, he's a welder, by choice, an oologist, a fancy word for an egg collector. And he wants his son to follow in his footsteps. Despite 7 convictions for egg collecting offences, including the Eagle Rock incident, he cannot, will not give it up. If they had a league table for nest robbers, Colin Watson would be at the top. He won't be deterred from his antisocial hobby, no matter what his opponents may say.
I think egg collectors, more than any other type of offender that I deal with, are obsessive.
So I'll climb up here and check this nest, and you wait at the bottom of the tree, OK? It's a good boy.
The majority of them, if you stood them in this wood here now and said, what's this bird calling up here, they wouldn't know the difference between a call of a blue tit and a great auk.
The great auk has been extinct for 100 years. Otherwise, Colin Watson would no doubt give it a go.
You see the bird go? It's a matter of skill, sometimes courage and patience. And, I mean, these things have been, well, they've just been obliterated by the laws, which really, well, they're nonsensical. It's not right that this should happen. It should stop scientific study. We're nearly there now, Darren. See what's in the nest?
Today's scientific study involves a practical exercise in the nesting habits of the long-eared owl.
This Darren, she got 3 eggs. She's got the same clutch size as last season. So we'll keep an eye on it and see how it goes on for the rest of the season, see how many chicks it rears, eh? For me, you're a most genuine oologist. An egg collector now cannot go out and study that bird and watch it, learn something from their behaviour and something from the nesting season. He's got to go in clandestine, cloak and dagger, sneak in, take the eggs and dash out because of what could happen to him if he was caught, which is not the way oologists want to operate.
We're talking about criminal legislation and whether people like it or not. If you break the law, a criminal law, it's a criminal matter and you become a criminal. If you have a record